Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into an incredibly unique place, a civilization where, well, every aspect of life is quite literally defined by its relationship with water
Hmm.
and the constant, relentless challenge of the tides.
Absolutely.
You sent us this fascinating conceptual document, your Eastport brief, and it paints such a vivid picture of this maritime society.
It's a really rich source, yeah.
So our mission today is to kind of extract the most compelling nuggets of knowledge and insight from it. We want to understand how this environment shapes every facet of East Porter life,
Right.
from their architecture to their governance, even their personal identity. It's truly a world where the water isn't just a backdrop,
No, it's fundamental.
it's the very fabric of their existence. Okay, let's unpack this.
It's an extraordinary case study, and you're right, the environment is paramount. Eastport is described as a place of around 5 million people, spanning over 6,500 square miles in what your brief calls the East. Its core identity is forged around these fortified harbors. And their overarching philosophy, which really echoes through everything, is simply earn it or don't expect it.
Earn it or don't expect it. Wow, straightforward.
Very. Geographically, Eastport is just dominated by this intricate network of tidewater rivers and estuaries, flowing into wide marshlands, barrier islands,
So lots of water, basically.
everywhere. It's a land of natural harbors, shifting sandbars, all under a humid subtropical climate. Hot summers, mild winters, often shrouded in fog or, lashed by storms.
Sounds challenging.
Definitely. And what's fascinating is how immediately this geography establishes both profound challenges and unique opportunities. It's ideal for fishing and trade, yes, but it demands constant vigilance, absolute vigilance.
You can see how that would shape everything.
And it's right there in their architecture. You won't see grand, rigid structures. Instead, buildings are practical, often stilted high above floodplains.
Right, to deal with the water levels.
Exactly. Dock-heavy waterfronts are central. They favor weathered shingles, whitewashed wood, open porches to let the sea air flow through.
Practical stuff.
Very practical. Visually, your brief suggests thinking of like the resilience of colonial Chesapeake towns, the adaptive spirit of Gullah Geechee villages, maybe some Charleston architecture.
I can picture that.
Yeah, and all topped with these distinctive domed town halls and, crucially, lighthouses. Resilient lighthouses serving as navigation aids and symbols of survival.
So it's not just adapting, it's almost like co-creating their identity with the water. Even the ecosystem, the plants and animals you mentioned, sound like part of the community.
Precisely. They're not just native species, they are integral resources. Take tide grass, for instance, those tall reeds with violet stalks. They're crucial for thatching, for weaving.
Okay, useful.
Then there's crab willow, a tree with these really twisted roots that naturally filter brackish water. So it provides wood and cleaner water.
Huh, multifunctional.
And the blue salt lilies, they only bloom during high tide seasons, apparently. And they're harvested for food, maybe medicine too.
Wow.
The fauna is just as central. Shellbacks, these hard-shelled amphibians, they're not just edible, they're prized. A real protein staple.
Shellbacks. Got it.
River jays, bluebirds, they're so attuned they migrate precisely with the tides, like a living calendar.
Seriously, that's amazing.
Isn't it? And bobcats, slim, water-living felines with webbed paws, perfectly suited to the marshes.
Yeah.
Natural pest control, maybe even companions.
Webbed paws. It's a testament to how closely life and environment can intertwine. Survival isn't just enduring nature, it's integrating with it.
Exactly. Nothing seems accidental in Eastport. It's all a consequence of living by the water.
And that deep connection, it must carry straight into their culture, their daily life.
Absolutely.
Given that core philosophy, earn it or don't expect it, it's no surprise their ingenuity really shines through in something as fundamental as, well, their food.
Oh, definitely. Their local dishes are like a masterclass in using everything.
Like what?
Well, imagine shellback gumbo, a spicy stew turning that common amphibian into a rich staple.
Ah,
Or salt lily fritters, deep-fried tide flower petals served with seafoam aioli,
seafoam aioli. Okay.
turning a seasonal bloom into a delicacy. Right. They also have slow-smoked bobcat ribs with a marshberry reduction.
Bobcat ribs. Okay, adventurous.
And their crops are almost entirely marsh-based. Marsh rice, tide grass, crab willow bark, those blue salt lilies, swamp berries, sea beans.
So they really eat what the environment gives them.
Completely.
Yeah.
It showcases their adaptability. Their flavor profiles are distinctly, briny, peppery, smoky, tangy, lots of pickling, smoked meats, and this unique shell spice.
Shell spice.
Yeah, a crushed blend of dried crustaceans and herbs. It's a vivid illustration of how extreme conditions can force, or maybe inspire this complete redefinition of resourcefulness.
It's like a flavor of resilience.
That's a great way to put it. Their cuisine isn't just food, it's like a living archive of their struggle and triumph.
And their clothing reflects that practicality too, I bet.
For sure. Everyday wear is all about function. Breezy linen shirts, rolled-up trousers, waxed canvas coats, wide-brimmed hats,
That's bold.
high boots, rain cloaks, practical gear like reinforced knee wraps for boat rides. But for ceremonies, they step it up. Striking blue and white sashes, polished shell masks.
Shell masks.
Interesting. Silver-threaded robes. And one really fascinating custom is tide marks, temporary tattoos from marshing, worn during rites of passage, like a visible badge of experience.
A temporary tattoo marking experience. I like that. And then there's their music. You said it's the very sound of Eastport.
Yeah, it seems deeply embedded in their daily lives, their survival. The brief mentions genres like tidework songs.
To coordinate work, maybe.
Probably. Dockside blues, marsh ballads, powerful call and response chants.
And the instruments, also unique.
Oh, yeah. Marsh fiddle, shell drums, seahorn trumpets, reed flutes. But what really stands out are these floating xylophones.
The floating xylophones, you're kidding.
Made of tidewood, apparently used in harbor performances. This isn't just entertainment, it reflects their survival, their values.
So the music tells stories.
Definitely. Themes revolve around hard-earned trust, weathering storms, literal and emotional kinship on the sea, warnings carried in the tide. It makes you wonder, how does music become so fundamental?
It's a way of embedding knowledge, share experience maybe, like those tidework songs, coordinating labor, or storm chants as a communal defiance.
Exactly. Practical, functional, and deeply emotional. So with that understanding of their daily life and culture,
Yeah.
how does this translate into how they organize themselves, their society?
Yeah, let's get into their social fabric.
Well, Eastport has what your brief calls a tide-based social structure. It's fluid, yet tough. Status is earned through labor, loyalty, sheer survival, not inherited wealth, not formal education.
Okay, so merit-based.
Very much so. At the top, you have dockmasters, highly respected leaders of harbor zones, almost always self-made. Their authority isn't granted, it's earned by organizing trade, defending ships, surviving storms with their community intact.
So proven leaders.
Then you have the line folk. Fishermen, boatwrights, tide farmers, rowers. They're the cultural core. Reputation built on work ethic, storm record, contribution.
The backbone.
Then free drifts, independent traders, seasonal workers. Valuable, but also seen as unmoored. They have to prove their loyalty over time.
Treated with wary respect, maybe?
Something like that. And the only real lower class, slackers. Those who don't pull their weight. It's a social failure, not a birth condition. In Eastport, your worth is literally what you've weathered and who still vouches for them.
Wow. That's stark.
And their family structure reflects this intensely practical, storm-tested approach. Often functions more like a crew than a traditional lineage.
A crew. How so?
Well, blood ties exist, but survival bonds seem stronger. Many families form through crew line households, groups who've sailed or worked the same docks for decades.
So shared experience creates family.
Right. Children are raised through line-wide parenting, a mix of blood relatives, crewmates, neighbors, creating roles like storm uncles or net mothers.
Storm uncles, I like that.
Marriages are functional, solidified by not ceremonies, not legal contracts. And what's also fascinating is names often get shaped by deeds.
How do you mean?
Eastporters can earn second names after surviving shipwrecks, saving others, completing a first solo voyage. So you get names like Mira Tidehold or Jalen Brinehook.
Names that tell a story.
Exactly. Adoption, blended households, cross-line fostering are openly celebrated. It embodies their powerful saying, family is anyone who shows up when the docks flood.
It really emphasizes that earned status, doesn't it? Incredibly meritocratic.
Yeah.
Built on shared experience, grit, not birthright. But I have to ask, does this earn-it philosophy ever get harsh towards those genuinely unable to contribute, like the elderly or the very young?
That's a crucial question. The earned aspect isn't just about raw productivity now, but about willingness to contribute and, importantly, past contributions. That family is anyone who shows up idea. That's their safety net.
Ah, okay.
Elders, for instance, retain immense respect.
Yeah.
Lorekeepers, strategists, their weathered experience is invaluable.
So their contribution shifts.
Exactly. And kids are nurtured, but also taught early to understand their environment, contribute what they can. Building that work ethic young, it's a system relying heavily on reciprocal obligation, collective survival.
That makes sense. So their customs must also reflect this directness, this mutual reliance.
Indeed, they do.
Mm.
Greetings often involve just clasping forearms or tapping two fingers over the heart, an old gesture meaning I'm still standing.
Simple, meaningful.
Yeah. And a common bonding ritual is story trade. One person shares a tailstorm, mistake, loss, and others respond with a matching story, building connection through shared vulnerability.
That's powerful.
Coming of age is marked by the first launch. A teen has to captain or navigate alone or lead a team through a storm or tide-locked route. Success earns them that tide-marked tattoo and a public song. Proven resilience.
Trial by water, essentially.
Pretty much. Practical hospitality is key too.
Mm.
A guest is fed, dried, then immediately asked how they can pitch in. Overstaying or not helping. Big no-no.
Earn your keep, even as a guest.
Right. Morning is communal, loud, dockside dirges, call and response, weeping, sharing, salt bread. And they have this powerful proverb about relationships. Trust is a knot, not a chain. You tie it strong, but you never yank it taut.
Speaks volumes about that delicate balance.
And that balance, that resilience, extends directly into their politics, their military. Eastport operates as a loose confederation of harbor councils, the tie chain.
The tide chain, okay.
Each major harbor elects a dockmaster council, usually 3 to 7 members, senior sailors, traders, floodplain stewards. They handle local governance, dock fees, defense crews.
Decentralized.
Very. The tide chain assembly, the larger body, meets quarterly in chain rest, this unique floating barge city in the central delta.
A floating city. Cool.
And there's no permanent head. Instead, a rotating helm, a different dockmaster chairs each session, breaks ties. Decisions are made through consensus by current.
Consensus by current. What does that mean?
It's fascinating. A majority must agree, but at least one dissenting voice must be invited to speak fully before voting closes. It suggests a fundamental belief that even in consensus, dissenting views hold vital information, especially when collective survival's at stake. It's built for anti-fragility, not just efficiency.
That forces listening.
Exactly. Ultimately, power in Eastport isn't position, it's reputation, story, and how many boats will still follow you in a fog.
Wow. So no political parties then?
Not officially, but influential blocs exist. The saltcutter syndicate merchants pushing free trade, floodline wardens conservationists, storm-born league disaster survivors advocating strong defense, and the brackish faith spiritual mediators.
How do they gain influence? Not money, I bet.
No. Favor is gained through public feasts, flood auctions, storm games. Community engagement is central to their politics.
Makes sense. And law enforcement. Also decentralized.
Yep, but efficient.
Yeah.
Based on a maritime code. Harbor hands are local dock enforcers. Watch boats patrol rivers against smuggling, piracy.
And out in the marshes.
Marsh callers. Respected peacekeepers known for bog law, community-driven justice specific to the marshlands. Justice itself favors practical resolution, public restitution.
So paying back your debt to the community.
Right. Minor offenses often repaid through labor. Severe crimes, banishment, maybe tide mark stripping,
Losing the tattoo.
which means losing your public identity, your standing. Profound cultural excommunication. The core belief again. Eastporters trust those who show up when the tide rises. Their laws reflect that.
That consensus by current thing is genuinely fascinating. Sounds effective for deep alignment, but does it ever create bottlenecks? Like when a superstorm's coming and they need to act fast?
That's a perceptive question. The source implies, yeah, it could be slower for deliberation. But in emergencies, that decentralized nature kicks in.
The dockmasters act locally.
Exactly. They have significant autonomy to act decisively. If their judgment's right, it boosts their reputation. It's this dynamic tension between deliberation and rapid response, a constant negotiation with the tide itself.
A clever way to build in adaptability. And their military is equally unique then, a coastal militia fleet.
Built around crew loyalty, storm season readiness, their fortifications bend with the tide, not break against it. Tidewall bastions with storm gates, floodgates, and sluices to intentionally flood lowlands.
Using the water itself as defense.
Precisely. Watch lighthouses for signals, defense. Submerged net traps, sandspike fields only locals know. Every harbor has safe flood zones for civilians and trapped quays to funnel invaders into crossfire.
Deadly.
The Army structure is specialized too. Harbor guards on docks, brine coats, light naval infantry in fast skiffs, forerunners, elite wetland scouts. All Eastporters train seasonally in storm drills.
So everyone's a potential defender.
In a way, yes. Their strategy isn't brute force. It's environmental weaponization, steering enemies into fog or reefs, fire and flood raids, tide-matching assaults.
It's terrifyingly effective.
Their military mythos includes tales like the Salt Cloak Pack, fisherfolk scuttling ships to form a reef to stop an invasion. It's clear. No plan survives the tide, but Eastport plans with the tide.
Okay, from battles to business, how does this resilience translate into their economy? Must thrive on the harbors and marshes.
Absolutely. Fishing and shellback harvesting are the backbone diet and exports. Smoked, pickled, dried fish, and shellfish. Boat building is key agile, tide-resistant vessels.
Naturally.
Marsh agriculture for crops like marsh rice, swamp berries, tide grass. The dock towns are central trade hubs, both legal and, well, back-channel bartering.
I bet.
And they specialize in salt and spice drying unique brine blends that shell spice mix. A powerful concept here is adaptive surplus. Nothing is wasted. Every season is both bounty and warning.
Adaptive surplus, I like that. And currency, you mentioned it wasn't straightforward.
Not at all. They use standard coinage, sure, but also localized symbolic currencies. Brine scripts, laminated bark or tidegrass slips, stamped with a seal and expiration season?
Like seasonal IOUs?
Sort of. Shell marks, polished shell chips for low-value exchanges. And tide vouchers from dockmaster councils, redeemable for ferry passage, storm shelter.
So value is tied to specific needs.
Exactly. And barter, labor-for-labor trades are incredibly common, especially further out. The philosophy is clear. Trust, timing, and storm season reliability matter more than coin count.
It raises that question again. How do they maintain robust activity with such fluid currency? It speaks to incredible community trust.
It really does. What do you think, in our world, might be the closest parallel, where trust trumps currency?
That's a great question. Maybe really close-knit, specialized industries, or even like open source communities where reputation and contribution are everything. The idea that who owes you a favor is actual capital, that's striking.
Exactly, and this trust extends to their labor structure. No rigid guilds. It's crews, chains, and tide holds. Skill-based, reputation-driven networks.
Like networks of trust.
Precisely. Core networks like the Net Chain for fisherfolk, Timberhook Union for boat builders, Salt Lube Cooks for chefs and spice traders, Floodcart Brotherhood for movers specializing in flood surges,
Floodcart Brotherhood, love it.
and Dockstone Circles cooperatives, owning shared harbor real estate. Work isn't judged by title, but by knowing tides, quick flood response, and who owes you a favor from 3 storms ago.
Wow.
Their shared labor history is often literally recorded on oar blades or hull plates. Living resumes.
Incredible. Now, let's dive into the spiritual depths. Their beliefs must be profoundly tied to the environment, too.
Oh, deeply. It's a tide-bound folk religion, rooted in ocean rhythms, storm cycles, moral consequence. Their gods aren't distant figures.
Yeah.
They crash, they rot, they return.
They crash, watt, return. Okay,
Yeah.
who are the key figures?
Your brief mentions Veltris, the brine father, spirit of tides, trade, return. Watches over everything, cast out ships, secrets, promises, ensuring they come back changed. Offers fairness, but no mercy.
Intense.
Then Morella, the floodways, goddess of misdirection, fog, emotional entanglement, offers help, but always at a price.
Tricky.
There's the Baler, a minor spirit representing what you can't escape until you face it. And crucially, the tide itself. Treated as a sentient rhythm that sees all, judges none, pulls everything into balance over time.
The tide itself is divine.
Seems so. And there's no afterlife dogma. Just the belief that what you do will rise with the next wave and no storm forgets a lie. Consequences are here and now.
That's very grounded.
Exactly. That idea of God's crashing, rotting, returning perfectly encapsulates their cyclical view of life, nature, tangible, grounded spirituality. Consequences are immediate, visible, like the tide receding.
And their clergy must reflect this practicality, too.
Less sermons, more practical guidance, timing, symbolic balance. Tide callers are harbor mystics reading tides, blessing ships. Flood singers lead chants for ceremonies, funerals, storm vigils.
Lore singers.
Marsh scribes are lore keepers, carving warnings into bogwood, preserving histories, weather patterns. And brine hands, unofficial emotional caretakers, helping navigate grief through ritual cleansing or tattooing.
Brine hands. Interesting.
And most gain legitimacy through experience as sailors, storm survivors, market elders. Not formal ordination. It's a faith earned, like everything else.
Earned faith. Makes sense. And the rituals. Must be physical, water-centric.
Physical, noisy, communal. Favoring gesture. Water work over written prayer. Daily rituals like the throwback after a meal or trade, casting a small piece into the tide as thanks. Skipping it is selfish, unlucky.
A small offering.
The marking those temporary tide marks for rites of passage. And for lost crews, harbor silence. Entire docks fall silent for one tide cycle, maybe with those floating xylophones playing low in the current.
Poignant.
Major festivals, too. Brine wake first new moon after equinox, lantern boats with offerings, regrets on waterproof scrolls, storm home mid-hurricane season, shouting songs into the wind to prove we're still here, ending in a flood feast,
Shouting into the storm, wow.
and return light celebrating the first returning ship of spring. Bell dances, fish sharing, tide blessing newborns. It's physical engagement. As I say, if your shoes aren't wet when it's done, it didn't count.
Haha, I love that. So after this deep dive into your Eastport brief, it's just so clear. This is a civilization defined by its constant dance with the tides.
Mhm.
This relentless challenge fostered unmatched resilience, incredible ingenuity, and this deep sense of community earned through shared hardship.
Absolutely. Every single facet, stilted homes, briny food, unique governance, spiritual practices, it's all a direct, unwavering response to the ocean's power.
Hmm.
Their identities forged in that struggle, that rhythm. A truly holistic example.
It really makes you reflect, doesn't it? How do our own environments, physical or social, subtly shape our values, our relationships, even how we define family?
Yeah.
What can we learn about resilience, about community, from a place where family is anyone who shows up when the docks flood? Think about the ebb and flow in your own life. How do you ride the brine? Are you planning with the tide or fighting against it? We'll catch you on the next deep dive.